Hey, can you hear me? Camilo is always first in there, the camera right there. Awesome. All right. Let's see what else is in here. Okay, there's just a few today. Yeah, more people are going to show up soon. People are just falling, it's like they're like, like it's kind of like a war, and people are just like following and staying like along the way. um, so it's about to start. It's like 9:30 right now, so just turn it off. So I've noticed that you guys are a little bit too concentrated in, too focused in like in the pores thing, right? And some of you are posting a lot of your progress. It's like how you're sculpting your pores and stuff. So in the forums and like Facebook and Instagram and all those places, I noticed like you're super concerned about really getting the pores correctly. But the thing is, like, the pores are just like a small portion of this whole process, right? So if things are not looking exactly perfect just yet, it takes some practice, and I just don't want you guys to feel obligated to actually nail them at first. And because there are lots of other fun things you can do, it's like with, especially like the render, when you get into like, choosing your HDRIs and planning things like that. Try to find things that are not stressful for you right now, it's like when it comes to the class, because we are talking about so many things, right? We did things, for example, like we talked about the sculpting the iris, it's a cool exercise, like an observation exercise. And I mean, like, some people sometimes ask me about, like, what gets you inspired, it's like, and I normally say this, and it's true. I don't believe in inspiration that much, it's like sometimes you're motivated and you have more energy to do things, but like inspiration to me is a little bit of a BS, because I mean, like, if I don't work on my own stuff, I just like feel a little sick, it's like I have to get some stuff out. And so I do the work I do almost like as a therapy, so but I understand that certain things are more difficult, and certain things, like, you're not up for the task like in a certain day, right? So for example, like today I might be too tired. I had a very long day, right? Like some of you guys might have a long day, it's like dropping kids off in school, like in bedtime, all this stuff. But then all of a sudden, like, you have all those little tasks in front of you, and they're all different, right? Like when you're working a portrait like that, there's so many new things, right, that you learn. And you have the pores is just part of it, but you have like the likeness, that's an observation study, right? Like it's this puzzle that I mentioned, that you're going to have to, it's like try to find references from multiple angles, and trying to nail that likeness, and takes multiple passes. You're not going to nail it first try. It's going to take days or weeks. And then you have things like, for example, like, okay, so if I'm too tired to try something like that, it's too intense, right? Like to just like add pores everywhere in my character's face. So what is like the least boring thing I can try today, right? So we can just go like, okay, well, maybe the least boring thing would be just like download some HDRI maps from my HDRI Haven, and just test one by one. It's like add a simple shader to your model and test them, and see which one gives you the kind of like dramatic effect you want, or if you want something more like a global illumination, or you want something more dramatic, right? Like a one single point light. Try things that are just like fun to do, it's like that you're not going to stress out about. Because like, if you put everything as a gigantic task, it's like this thing like you have to overcome, it becomes a little bit too intense, But if you just break down, for example, like, okay, what's all the stuff I have to do to get this character to where I want, right? You have a long list of stuff to go through, and it's impossible that, it's like all the things are going to be either like too difficult or boring or something. I was like, so you should find the stuff that fits you on that certain day, right? So that's why like this class is not planned. When I get here at night, I was like, okay, let's talk about this tonight. Because sometimes that's how I feel, I was just, okay, maybe it's too intense to work on something else. So I gotta just try to tackle this and get this out of the way. So when I have more energy, I just like can tackle the other stuff, right? So I would say, like, I would really encourage you guys to try a little bit of everything we did so far. It's like, go and play with shaders, you know, like eye shaders, go sculpt an iris or go play with HDRI maps and leave the pores alone for a little bit. Don't stress too much about them. About the pores is all about like, I guess like visual reference, right? Like you have photographs you can find, like if you look for macro photography of skin, you can find it. You can look at how I sculpted my own here, right? But at the end of the day, it's just a matter of like how you're gonna interpret that, right? In my case here, you see like I have them fairly spread out here, but not by much. But the way that the structure of the pores work, it basically like you have to create those forms in between the pores. It's not like you're gonna just put the pores separate from each other and expect them that like to simply talk to each other without actually having a connection, right? So let's see if I can just eliminate the color here. You can actually see what's going on. So for example, the chin is a good example. If I just turn on this thing. Oh, I'm not sharing it. Sorry, guys. Let me just share here. So the chin here, it's a good example. Let's do this. Now you're seeing it, right? Okay. Okay, so in this case here, I'm gonna just do a preview. Actually, I can just go HD in this area here. Let's see what happens. 35 million, that's the maximum I get here. So you see like all those little structures, it's not like they are alone, right? They have like those little things like connecting to one another. And I think it's a matter of like how you are sculpting your pore, like the main pore when you start it. For example, like if I have this plane here with the multi-pores I have, right? This is just like with a certain intensity, I'm sculpting maybe like 30 or something like that. But let me just get the pore I have here, and I'm going to do this for the kind of like I guess the last time I'm going to approach that just to show exactly with the higher intensity, so you can actually see how the pore looks like. Yeah, it's like just to have that in record, you know. It's like, but in the future, I mean, like really just like relax about the pores. Don't worry too much about it for now. So the intensity I'm using here by default is like 42, right? So that's basically the type of detail I get. When I sculpted this, if I crank this value here all the way, let's see if I get like a big one here. Let's see how it looks like with a big intensity. You see, like it really pops out very little. It's mostly going inwards, right? So like look at the point that's making in there, right? So this is like with full on intensity, like super high at like the 80 something, 85. So let's get from behind here. This is basically what it is, you know. It's a matter of like balancing what it is, what is the intensity of the little hole in the middle, and then in relation to the other little guys coming out of it, right? Because if you get them to look too sharp and too precise, you see like they have a little bit of a wobble, right? If they get too precise and everything, they get very mechanical looking, right? But if you have something like this, as you get close to each other, you start seeing like, you see those little pillows I sculpted here, like right around here, they start to actually, you know, building up the forms in between, right? So they have this interesting form in there. If you can get something sculpted like that, then it's a matter of like really playing with intensity, right? So let's make a big one here so I can actually see it, and like with a big intensity, something like that. And it's really a butthole, right? So yeah, and then you see like the other stuff here is just to add a little bit more of pseudo structure, right? Like it's almost like, see like there is a mention of a little triangle here, but it's not quite a triangle. It's not a literal triangle. It's just like the mention of something that's happening around, you know, but not like too literal. And then when I apply this brush here, what I try to do, I at least like in my case here, the way I sculpted it, if I sculpted at 100%, let's see, 100%, how much I get that. So if 100% was like this, let's see how deep it goes. About that. That's how deep it goes for me at 100%, right? So it's pretty deep. So let's say if I sculpted this at 100% and I captured this, that's probably what I did, because I'm using actually only 42% or something like that at this point. My 42%, that's the default here, it's about that much, right? So it goes in just that much, like that. And then at 30%, I get around that. And at 20%, I get about 21%, about that. So I never go lower than 20%. In my case here, it never goes shallower than this. And it never goes deeper than this, in my case. Of course, like if you're sculpting it, you're gonna see what those values look like. But as a visual reference, that's about how deep they are in my case here, right? I'm gonna use those guys here probably in the cheeks, like the deeper ones in the cheeks and the chin and the muzzle, right? Like right above the upper lip. And then this one here, I'm gonna start using for blending things, right? Like, so I start going more towards like the nose and more towards the eye bags, the side of the face, things like that. I'm gonna start using a little bit more like 30% of that, right? And then those guys really, when I just need a tiny little bit, you know, it's like really close to blending to complete like wrinkles, then I'm gonna use those guys. But what the important thing is that you have to make sure that you're creating this impression of microstructures in between them, right? So it's not like they are isolated. It really looks like they are kind of like reaching to each other, right? Like it's kind of like it's a flexible structure, and you have those little pillows in between, and they are just trying to reach to the next one. So if I sculpt one right there, for example, at 40 here, 43, if I put one right in the middle, you know, it might be denser than it was before, but it still makes sense. You know, it's like it looks like it's actually trying to connect to the next one. So when you do this type of thing, it's almost like you don't need to make perfect. For example, like if I'm making a zigzag, right? If I do one here, another one here, another one here, that to make kind of like a perfect triangle or something around here, right? I don't need to keep going like in a perfect pattern like that to make those perfect triangles. From time to time, you can get one slightly off like that, and it's slightly closer, you know. They have to make sense, but they don't need to be a perfect grid. Otherwise, start looking a little bit too automatic, right? So that's like the beginning of it, you know. It's like, so just by using the pore itself, you should be able to get a little bit more structure in between them. And then, of course, everything else on top of this is going to be coming from that brush that I mentioned many times, which is this the Skin Random, right? This one here, used with the spraying combination, and then using circles. So like I have a base like going down first, and then at 12, I think is a little bit too strong, but just to show you here, this is a little strong, right? This is breaking up too much. So let's make like 8 and then smaller. So I'm gonna go right here, pretty close. And then you can just go, I can go higher than that. Let's see, 11, a little bit bigger. Yeah, so with something like this, you can actually break them up a little bit so you don't get that perfect like orange peel looking. That's the stuff that makes it look so artificial, right? And then from this point here, if you're adding this micro structure in between that looks very leathery now, it's not you know, like a kind of like a very like perfect structure anymore. Then from this point on, it's a matter of like using bumps and mini scars and things like that, right? So I just used that one. Now I have a nicer skin. When I look from distance, it's gonna look a little bit more complex than it was before, but it's still pretty perfect for what it is. So like I said before, 2 ways to do, like to add some more irregularity in here is to use the spray, right? And one way is to actually go lower to a lower resolution and then spray it. So you have the Skin Pores Random here, which is basically like a spray. It's 0.5, scale at 1, color 0, and flow at 0.60, 57. I'm using the same stuff that's basically the Alpha 39 with a little bit of a ramp in there, right? Same deal. And then if I just sculpt in here, you're gonna see like it adds this type of effect, right? But this is gonna obliterate my pores over time. So to make sure that this is not happening, you can go in to a lower resolution, for example, something like this. And then you can really go to town. We're gonna go reverse of that, make those bumps like that, for example, right? You can go even higher, like that. And then I'm gonna reverse it, so I'm gonna go down now. And you add like some different, sizes, just to, create something like that. And now when you go back, start to see a little bit more irregular stuff. Of course, you have to be careful. In this case here, got overly bumpy, right? But just to show you like that once you start doing this kind of stuff, the skin starts to look a little bit more organic. It goes from this, right, like this stuff here, to something more like this. And then it starts working. And of course, like if you want to do those bumps a little bit sharper, I would not use, for example, like this. At this level, I would not use the same, like the default brush. I would rather go for an elastic brush, right? So it's the same stuff that we did last time, which was basically like you just pick like the elastic brush here. And then you can just tweak it. So I'm gonna put like a spray here. Same deal, keep that one default, no color, scale, all the same. I can do the same thing like alpha 39. Got a little point in there or something. And then same deal. So now it's getting those super sharp pores, right? Like maybe a different alpha here, but let's say 35. 35 is better. So I can just go to a lower intensity, let's say 22. And now because it's elastic, this should not destroy my detail, right? It's just a matter of like finding one that actually works for you. And then if I do this, now I'm actually going down with it, right? Just spraying like that. And then going back the opposite way, just to add some irregularity, And then when you look from distance now, start looking a little bit better, a little bit less regular, right? So all those little tricks, over time, when you start using all of them at the same time, you start breaking up that like artificial look, right? But at the same time, it always, everything starts with a little pore, right? The way that's basically built, which is that example I showed you right there, right? So if you build something that looks very similar to this, you should get a very similar result. It's like it's all a matter of like really building those pillows, those little pillows in here, and adding some, little mentions of things like that that can break up and create the impression that something is more complex than it actually is, right? And make sure that basically like in between them, you're gonna have something in there like to fill up those gaps, right? So that's about it. I think about skin, we don't need to talk too much about it. We can just jump into the model. I'm planning to do some things today. The first thing I was thinking was to actually do some sculpting around this area here that's very plain, and exactly do what I was doing just now, like it's like adding more detail and not more detail, but like more randomness around this area, right? But I also have to do the hair. So between the two of them, I mean, the model is in a good state that I can actually, I can see what's missing in it because of the renders. And that's why I encourage you guys to do the renders as soon as possible, to see how the model looks like, what's actually missing, it's like, and then go from there. So at least you have like an actual reference to go by. But in this case here, since I have so much to do when it comes to the hair, so that's the render from yesterday. You probably saw some renders I posted in the morning, actually. By the way, the renders I'm doing, if you never did this in Maya, this is kind of like new to Maya. I think it started with Maya 2018 or 17, something like that. That's the batch render now. Instead of like using a batch render, you can use the render sequence, which is very useful. So the way I set up my scene, for example, like I have all my cameras basically with the animation, right? So I have the model right there, and then I have here, here, here. So I'm creating basically like a keyframe in the camera position so I can actually render this stuff. So I have like a total of 9 frames, right? So every time I want to render, if I have an HDRI map, for example, it's going to render always from the same angles. And of course, you can create like any angles you want. But so basically like the way it works, if you just click View, select Camera, and you press S. So S is going to basically create a keyframe, right? Or you can simply select all those guys here and then just right click and then they say key selected. That's another way to do it. But S normally going to save the camera in that current position. So if I have here like 9, I'm going to go to 10. I'm going to just frame this one, F. And let's say I want to like another angle that's going to be like this. So I just like from here, just press S. And now, oops, that's the model. Let's go back. By the way, like brackets actually brings back like the memory of the last position of the camera. So you saw what I did there. It's like I went back here by mistake and don't have a keyframe saved. But if I press the back bracket here, so it basically goes back. So I'm gonna click View, select Camera, and then S. Oh, I overwrote this one. This one. Okay, let's do it again. Select Camera, and then S. So now I have that saved as well, right? So here in my camera settings, first off, like every time I do another sequence of renders, I always make sure that I change this letter here, so I'm not overriding anything by accident, right? And if you remember correctly, like one of the first classes we had, we are talking about like setting up the project for Maya. So if you set the project, you should get a folder like this, right? Make sure you have that Maya is pointing to an image folder inside of your current folder. So everything is organized in there. And I mentioned that before. So if I'm exporting like a sequence, I want to make sure I have like the number of the frame and then the extension at the end. And then the type of file I'm saving is always the XR. It has more information, it's 32 bits and all that stuff. So now I have like 10 frames. I just added that new frame in there from the bottom view. So I can just add like the end frame here at 10. So I have starting at 1 to 10, so you can change that if you want. And then the resolution I'm using is 900 by 900. So it has like a reasonable, good resolution, and it's square, so I can post on Instagram. And then for the render settings here, for all those renders I posted with this quality here, it's about camera at 8, and then everything else is like the multipliers at 3, right? I'm not using adaptive sampling. The clamping here is off. You can turn it on if you want, if you're getting like fireflies and stuff like that. And then I'm just using the regular Gaussian that's by default is 2. So I'm actually reducing to 1.5, so it gets a little sharper. And then once you have, this is option you have to have on if you want to get like more of the detail of the subsurface scattering. This is sometimes is overkill. It makes very little difference if you're rendering like something super, for example, if you're subdividing enough your model with doing render time, basically like the auto bump is, remember what it is, right? Like for example, like you subdivide the model, Arnold tries to subdivide as many times as possible, basically based on the definition in the properties of the object. But then when he runs out of polygons in there and he still sees detail in the displacement map, he actually shifts all the super fine detail to a bump. So if you want to scatter that bump, that means like the super fine detail, if you want to scatter in there, then you can turn this one on. But it basically like, you see, enabling this check about triple shader evaluations in SSS. So that means it's going to be much slower to calculate everything. So I normally keep it off, but I would say like if it's a final render, I would turn it on, just like to have like a little bit more precision in there, right? And then once you have everything set like that, I normally try to speed up things at the end of the night and get everything in place. And then I do those render tests overnight because it takes time. So the way you do it is just like switch from modeling here to rendering. And then under rendering, you have this render tab, and then you have the render sequencing here. If you click the option box and render sequence, then you have this thing here, which is like you pick the camera, which in my case is the perspective. You have to pay attention. Sometimes it picks a different one. So it's the correct one. I see the name in there, so perspective. And then it has all those options in here that I normally don't use any of them. And then you have this option that sometimes I use, which is to add this to the render view. So that means like every single frame that's going to be rendering is going to be saving those images in the render view in Maya. So if something fails, for example, like if by mistake you forgot to set the project here, right? And all of a sudden your image went to limbo. You don't know where the image went. Normally it's going to put like outside of the image, but it's still under the inside of the folder. But sometimes it can happen, like, you know, it's like it goes to limbo. at least if you have them in there in the render view, they're all saved. So you can just like scroll one by one. Basically what it does, you're gonna get a little slider right here in the bottom, and then you're gonna be able to scroll through all the images saved. In this case here, I was not using before, so I just saved the latest one. But that's how it's gonna work. And the thing that I noticed is that, I don't know if Maya 2019 is fixed, but until 2018, what was happening was this. If you had the render view open, the Maya render view, which is this one here, open at the same time that the Arnold render view was open. So for example, if I was using this one here, basically like I just clicked this one to render the sequence, somehow it would crash for me. You know, it's like you would find out, okay, the render view from Arnold is already being used, and it would just like crash. So from that point on, I just learned like to close this window first, like the Arnold view, and then just click this one, and then it should render fine, right? But yeah, so let's do some hair today for his head. That's what's missing. And like I said, I would love to do some more of the detailing in there in ZBrush, but I have hair to do, and he's still looking a little creepy without the hair. So I'm gonna do that, and obviously I have to address like texture paint the ears and sculpt the ears, same for the neck and things like that. But I still have some hair to do. It's very hard to find like reference of him, like profile, full profile. And I found this one actually has his smile, which is a great reference. I mean, like I wasn't using much of a profile picture to this point. So sometimes it's good to see that I was kind of like on the right track with the profile, but it's nice to see an actual picture to compare. And then I see that his nose gets a little bit more of a little hook. It's very low resolution here, but he has more of a hook in there, you know, and I can see a little bit more of that form in there and how square the bottom is gonna go. So I have to make that little square, right? So it's nice to see that, and has a little bit more of a curvature here at the top as well. So it's cool to see that. This line as well, it's kind of like going a little bit more straighter than I have. Mine's going towards the chin, so I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. And when I'm doing this type of fixes here, for example, if I already have hair in there, in those places, I'm gonna try to do very carefully. So instead of like just getting like a move brush and just moving this entire form back, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to actually re-sculpt it. So I'm gonna just like lower this area, right? And then carve it all the way down here. So the hair actually goes back according to the normal, instead of like simply like, you know, pulling things too hard and then it just looks terrible. So I'm gonna be doing that. And then the other thing here that I was observing is his hairline, how receded in there is. So let me just get this one out of the way. So if I look at that, right, like it goes all the way back there. So I'm gonna have to do pretty much like start here and go all the way back here. So basically like either I'm gonna have to shave some of this hair in here from the sideburns and then recede a little bit more. But it's important to see like having like just one profile image already helps a lot, because everything else I have looks like this and it's very tricky. So I have like pictures of him looking like this. So basically like the hair looks very simple to do, just like straight. But then some of them, he's a little younger. It looks a little bit more curly, right? So it's more curly hair to the side. This one it looks more straight now and going to the side as well. The hair gets thinner as you get older, right? So he went like from that to having a hair that's a little bit more, you know, it's like it looks more straight, right, than this. So yeah, all those things have to come in consideration, you know. It's like this kind of, like, you know, it's like a very, very soft hair, right? Like old man's hair. So I have to pick one that actually represents him. And it's hard because in every single one of them, it looks different. So I guess I'm just gonna go for the short version of that. And then the top I'm gonna try to resolve later. I can do some styles. You can, the cool thing about see how short it is here, right? It's just at the top in there. Yeah. So the cool thing about the XGen, you can actually, oh, this one looks terrible, by the way. Like it's split in the middle in there and a little longer. So I have to pick one that actually looks semi-decent. The cool thing about XGen, you can actually layer all those things. So you can just like create a layer and say like, okay, split, or you can put those like side or something like that, and then create all those layers, and you can actually see them in different positions, right? So I'm gonna start with blocking this stuff, and the blocking should be fairly fast. Which one is that? Where did I put it? My reference. Let's see if it's here. Oh, it's here. I have multiple versions. Okay, this guy right there. So we're gonna try to block that, right? So we're gonna start here. First thing, you're gonna unhide just the model itself. So basically the way you do it, just click the model, and if you wanna keep just the model visible, press Alt-H, right? Alt-H, and then now we have just that. If that's bothering you, like this this square in here, that's coming from the camera view. So if you go to camera settings here, if you just say like camera gate, just turn it off, so that goes away. Or you can turn off the resolution gate as well if you want. No gate. So now it's a little bigger in there. And then I'm gonna do this based on the topology like I did yesterday. So first thing, you're gonna switch to right-click, face, and I'm gonna just select the little arrow in here, and pressing Control, I'm gonna just make sure that I make a square around it, make sure nothing else is selected. I wanna select just those little areas, and make sure that I have my symmetry set to topology. And then I'm gonna pick one edge right in the middle here, so Mike can understand what's the symmetry, right? So let's try it here. Yeah, it's working. So that should be very symmetrical now. And then let's start from the back here. Like I said, like if you feel like the hair should stop around here, you should go further than that, because you need all the, see, like the whispery stuff in there, like the tiny little guys. So I'm gonna go pretty low here, because I wanna make sure I get all of them. And then of course I can paint the thickness, right, of the hair and make them thinner around there, create the blending. Or you can always create like different definitions, right? You can do that as well. But from the side, let's see. I'm gonna go close to the ear here, but not too close. So it's gonna have a little room, right? The ears kind of have a little breathing room around them. And then the top is a little tighter. So it's gonna be closer to the top of the ear. So I can go pretty tight here. Something like that. And then it starts getting a little bit further around here. It's too much, too much. Around there. Maybe a little less in there. No, actually here he wraps around again with some people. I have a ton of those little hairs in there, so I know what I'm talking about, man. Let's see, a little closer again. That should be kind of enough. And then here I can actually create like a blending area, because all this stuff is already covered with the sideburns, but I'm gonna start blending them later. So from the profile here, I can tell that if I go straight, it's already too much for what he has in there. Seems like it ends a little bit earlier. But like I said before, I always like leaving a buffer just for, you know, in case of mistakes. I can always go back and paint some more. So I'm gonna go back here. And instead of like using a different layer, I'm gonna do exactly what like I did yesterday in the demo, when I actually blended the eyebrows with the peach fuzz, if you remember. So I'm gonna be using the same technique, you know, it's like just using the peach fuzz to actually blend in there. And it's gonna be even easier in his case because he's an older dude, so his hair is basically like, it's fairly white. So if my peach fuzz has a very low melanin, that's the case because peach fuzz is almost like translucent, right? And then, but not everywhere. If you look really closely, some of them are actually black. It's just that they're super thin, but some are kind of like blonde, you know, it's like the sun actually burns them and they get a little translucent, right? But you're gonna get some variation as well. But in his cases, he has so much white hair, it's gonna be just fine to just blend those. It's gonna be all in the reflections, you know, the way that the light's gonna catch, and you're gonna see those little hairs blending to the rest of the hair. So let's say if I have something like this, that's, you know, enough to get that structure in there. I'm gonna have to dig a little, you know, a little bit further here, but I'm gonna keep that just as a buffer, like I said. And then now we're gonna have to figure out the top of it, right? And the top, we're gonna have to find some front images here. Let's see if we can find anything interesting. Let's just close that one. So this guy is one that's not very helpful. Let's get one that has like the shortest possible, so I can actually see. Yeah, this seems like it's one of them. It's very short. This one actually might be a little better because from the top, you can see a little bit of the top of the head. But like I said, it's all a matter of like matching a camera. This one actually has a good one. Yeah, that's good. Match the camera, right? And then you're only gonna be able to judge once you have things render. That's why I always say, like, insist, like, really get stuff to render, you know, first. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, like, I'm gonna be talking about like rendering and in comping stuff and how I comp my stuff for final shots, and you know, it's just like little tricks. I don't use a lot of stuff. Like everything is kind of like rendered in one pass. Like I said, you can always go through the menu and look how the AOVs work and split all your passes with the specular and all this stuff. There's all kinds of tutorials about that. In my case, I don't use that. But my final pass, if I have something that's really close to what I'm observing in a reference, then I have just a little bit of work to do in Photoshop. So I'm going to be going through that between today, tomorrow, and after tomorrow, the last day. And we're going to be exploring some of that, you know, like the way I add a little bloom and color correction and things like that, you know. But today I was about to talk about the camera. So for example, like if I have a shot like that, if I don't want to rig my character, but I want a similar rotation for the head and things like that, in Maya it's very hard to get that type of rotation right there because you're just rotating like that, right? But if you go to view in here, you have this camera tools. If I just dock this one here, you have this roll tool here that's very cool. So if you click, actually not the roll, it's the it's the roll tool. Is it? Yeah. So this guy here actually rotates that way, right? So you can do that. So sometimes if you want to do like some like renders, like fast renders, and you want to get like a similar position, head position like that, you can just use the roll and just try to match that position, you know. And it's also cool because when you're trying to make like something look like an actual photograph, you want to make sure that things are not quite perfect, right? So make it like completely straight, sometimes break that and it looks artificial. But if you add a tiny little roll like that, you know, sometimes you render it's a slight roll like that, it looks more natural if you're trying to create something that, you know, was actually man-made, right? Like a photograph. So a little trick in there. So let's go back here and just paint the rest. And I'm gonna go probably around, again, I'm gonna have to go bigger than what I'm seeing there. So let's try go around here. And we're gonna be painting the basically like the coverage and removing some of the hair and things like that. So, but we need enough. It's so hard sometimes with this, especially with the mouse. So let's say if this is kind of like what I'm seeing there, so I'm gonna just add a little bit of more curvature in here. Make sure I have this area kind of covered. I'm gonna go more towards that. And this is probably gonna be more receded, so I'm gonna have to shave some hair in there later. But for now, make sure I have enough area covered. Something like that should work actually. And oh, and I can talk about like how to transfer the hair. If you do something that you need some hair transferring, I'm gonna do the style first. I'm gonna export the hair and I'm gonna save it so I have the hair as a backup. And then if you need to bring it back, then when you bring back the hair, it's basically like it's a transplant. And you know what I'm doing here, for example, like with this mask, right? So basically like anything that I'm grooming from now on, growing from this mask, Maya always gonna basically be constrained to that mask, right? So you cannot do much. I believe there is a way to actually expand this mask and paint manually later, but I never did it. So I don't know exactly how it works, but I'm pretty sure it's possible. But the way I do, for example, if I need to expand things, I just transplant the hair I bring back, I export the hair the way it is here, it grew grown from those areas, and then when I bring it back, it basically places on the model itself, but it considers the model as the entire mask. So that means that you can actually grow hair everywhere if you want, if you just like. But when you import, it only brings the hair in that specific area. But what I mean is that everything is unlocked to receive more hair, unlike this, right? When you have a mask, everything is locked to the mask. So I'm gonna be doing this, and then let's try that. Let's grow some hair here. And then let's start with that number. Which one was that? I think it was like a 150, something like that. Maybe less than that. No, it's an older guy. Let's try again. Let's see. Number of hairs on a human head. 100,000, right? So yeah, he's an older guy. Let's keep it 100. I might have to reduce some of that, but so let's start by, so I have all my areas selected. I'm gonna go to create, interactive groom, and then this is gonna be called main hair. And I'm gonna try to get that approximate number close to 100,000, right? So it doesn't need to be, it might be like maybe between 85 and 100. So let's go to 200 here. So 96, that's pretty good. Let's keep it like that. And then let's try length. The length, his hair is not super long in there, so I don't need more than, let's see, 1 I think is good. And for the scale, I'm gonna start with 16. And for the CV count, if it was a long hair, for example, if you're modeling a female, right, or a guy with long hair, sometimes the CV count, you can go as far as like 200 or 300, you know, something like that. So it gets very flexible, especially if it's like wavy. But in his case here, it's going to be short. So 32 might be enough. If it's not, if I want more of like a curls and stuff like that, then I can go like 64. But I'm going to keep 32 for now. I'm going to apply. Got a nice head full of hair. Done. You can just render now. Consider it done. So it has a good, yeah, it's a good coverage. You see, like, it's even kind of like feeling those little gaps there is pretty cool, like the little neck rolls. But the density looks pretty good, you know. Again, like he's kind of like an older dude. I don't know how much it is, but it should be similar to this, I guess. But we can always like add more manually too, right? I would say that it could go a little bit longer than that. So if you want like an overall length, so I can just go down here where main hair is, and I can just say like, okay, the scale, what about, let's see, 1.2 instead? It's a little bit longer now, right? So let's start doing some of the guides in here, which is the fun part, right? We did some yesterday. So I'm gonna click the main hair, I'm gonna add a modifier. And oh, before I do this, let's just assign a decent shader so that's not like this ugly color. That's basically like this is the default Maya shader. So here, let me just delete all my shaders that I'm not using. Delete and use nodes. So that's kind of clean out. And then let's start with one that I already have here, which is like the, let's see, the eyebrows. So if I get that, and I just get, let's see, graph material. So I have the stand eyebrows. I'm gonna use the same. I'm gonna just duplicate it actually. So I'm gonna duplicate the whole network because I want the map plugged as well. So I can use the same map to actually assign the color for both the hair and the eyebrows and everything else, right? So I'm just gonna click this one here. I'm gonna do a Control D for duplicate, right? And I'm gonna name this one main hair, stand main hair. And then this guy here, I'm gonna plug in the same spot. So it goes from alpha to melanin, right? So it's basically, it's based on the alpha because it's a black and white map. And I'm gonna click this one and I'm gonna just drag to melanin right there. So now it's the same map plugged in both shaders, right? Now I have to assign this to the main hair. So I click the main hair, the top node, And then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna right click and then I say assign to viewport. From time to time, you're gonna get this. Look, you have an error, right? It refuses to assign it. To fix that error, the easiest way is to do this, look. So you click your main hair, you're gonna notice that now I still have the physical shader from Maya in here. See, like that ugly color? So the best way is to actually just click that tab that says it, just click select, and then press delete. So now it's gone. So that's eliminated. So if you click again in the main hair, and now you just assign it, now it's correct, right? So that's a way to fix that little problem there. Sometimes it gets wacky. Sometimes it assigns like just fine, sometimes it doesn't. So now that I have that hair color, of course, like if you press 6, right? The 6 is gonna try to show you the color, but because I have this, what's that? This is coming from the bump actually. I have this bump plugged in here. That's the one I showed you guys yesterday. I was using as a micro displacement or micro bump, which is this guy under geometry. This guy right here, the AI noise. So once I plugged this one, everything became orange, which is bullshit. I mean, like, it shouldn't do that. But I mean, like some of the nodes that Arnold introduces, they don't talk to the Maya shaders very well just yet. Over time, they normally fix this type of stuff, and all of a sudden, like it starts like behaving the way you should. So you actually can see them like as you should. But in this case here, sometimes some of the newer stuff doesn't look good. So let's just switch to this. It's gonna be like a younger version here with this black hair, right? So I'm gonna click main hair, and I'm gonna add a modifier, which is the guide. Again, like by default, the guide doesn't do anything, it's just there. But if you scroll down, first I'm gonna just make sure, yeah, it's good. I'm gonna just click create. So you created a bunch now, right? So I don't need a bunch of them. I'm gonna eliminate most of it. So either you can do like a flood, but the flood sometimes, if you click this guy here, and if you go to intensity, density tool, you can use the flood right here and just try to flood everything and remove it. But like I said before, if you remove everything, sometimes it kind of like stops responding. So I'm just gonna eliminate manually a bunch of them. So I have decrease in here, so I'm gonna just increase this intensity, just really decrease. Oh, it's not working because I don't have it selected. So always remember, like go to your guide, expand it, go to the guide, and then under sculpt, you have to turn this one on. Otherwise, it's not gonna do anything, right? So I have decrease. Now I can start like removing some of those guys. Let's do this first. Let's turn off the hair. I can only see those guys. Oh man, it's like it's doing that again. Like it started working and then it stopped. I don't understand why it does that sometimes, Oh, maybe because I was having that one selected. No, that should be correct. I don't understand why it does that. Because now what I'm afraid is that if I rebuild those guys, because remember, like the actual hair, you can rebuild things and it actually just works fine. But with those guys here, sometimes when I rebuild, let's just try to rebuild it. It basically like it messes up. It kind of like loses the connection between the actual hair and the guide. So I'm gonna so you see, like now it's responding when I click the rebuild. Same thing here. I'm removing it. Nothing is happening, right? I click rebuild. It's working. Right? So that's the bullshit I mentioned the other day. But the thing is, like, I'm afraid now that the hair is not going to respond. So let's see if I try to style it, if it actually is still responding. Yeah, it's actually responding. So let's try to keep doing what I'm doing. That's the thing. Sometimes one thing works, the other one doesn't. Sometimes it's the opposite. So it is a little bit of a mess. It's super powerful, but it's quite buggy, the XGen thing. So let's go here. So I'm going to eliminate some more of that. So I'm going to shave it around here. And again, you're not seeing anything happening, right? It's almost like I'm not doing it, which is, again, bullshit. So I'm gonna go to the base and I'm gonna click rebuild, and then all of a sudden things just magically disappear. So now I have just that one. I'm gonna, instead of like removing everything, like I said, it can get buggy if you do that. So I'm gonna click this guy here. I'm gonna place a few of them. So I'm gonna click the tools and then symmetry in object X. And now I'm just gonna create, like, let's say one on each side around here. Uh-oh. What are you doing? You're stinking a lot right now. I hope it doesn't crash. Holy shit. It kind of looks like it's gonna crash. Oh man, the wonders of XGen. Uh-oh. It's really spinning. Holy smokes. Yeah, I think that one is doomed. I love having to redo stuff. It's my favorite thing. Yeah, it's just not responding at all. God damn it. Give a few more seconds. If it doesn't do anything, I'm just gonna have to abort mission. Do it again. Yeah, really not doing it. One thing I have to do before classes, I actually have to start actually resetting Maya and making sure that's like completely, you know, free memory and everything. Let's do that. Well, it's been like 3 full weeks, and this is the first full-on crash we got in Maya, so that's good. Not too bad. But it's gonna happen, I guess. So let's click that one. Let's open again and paint my mask again. Another thing I can try to do here is close a bunch of things, right? Because those things are all competing for memory. Although I work with both Maya and ZBrush open like for like months sometimes, and nothing happens, you know? Like I said, I have plenty of memory. I have like, ZBrush here is showing that I have like 80 gigs of memory free because I have 96. So it shouldn't be the problem, but you never know. Let's go again. Takes a little bit to load everything. Let's go, Maya, you can do it. All right, so let's do it here. Get my latest, this one here. Yeah, my whole scene is about 213 megabytes right now, which is kind of nothing. Especially compared to ZBrush, that's at 1.2 gigs right now, which is also not a lot if you consider all the HD stuff. Oh, this is again, the joys of XGen, right? Like you're starting to get mad at XGen already. That's the whole thing I say about the rebuild thing, right? That fixes most of those things. I bet those things are not going to be, oh, I cannot bet that because I think I tried to render this before and it was indeed in the render, but I'm not sure. But I'm going to just rebuild very quickly here. So I'm going to go to Peach Fuzz Base. Let's fix just some of those areas first. Rebuild, so the ears should fix now. And then eyebrows, main. I'm gonna rebuild that too. And then the goatee. This is another thing that the transplant sometimes cleans it up for you. You know, it's like there's some like noise or some node. Like Maya is very good at having those ghost nodes that basically like you try to clean up your scene. You can run all kinds of stuff. Like there's the optimized scene here, optimized scene size, right? That can actually run and remove a lot of the bullshit. But even with all this stuff, sometimes the scene is not clean. You know, it's like it's just like something lingers in there is not clean. One thing I do to clean up my Maya scene sometimes, I select everything. So for example, like I select everything like that. And I even go to the outliner to make sure that I have everything selected, right? And that would include all the guides. So I would have to manually select all the guides in here. And then I export this as a Maya file, an MB file. And then I go to another scene and I just import it again. And then all of a sudden, like all the problems that go away, you know? So from time to time, it's good to just do like a major cleanup of your scene like that. But in this case here, I'm gonna show you how I would approach, for example, if I had to transplant, let's say, a problematic area like the goatee. That was a simple one, right? That was just causing that trouble right now. So if I want to transplant this one and make sure that I get it back in here, so let's do this. I'm gonna just do this, and then I'm gonna turn on just the goatee, right? So that's the geometry for the goatee right there. So I'm gonna export this curves, and then I'm gonna re-import it, and that should clean up a lot of stuff. And like I said, it's gonna open up, instead of like having this area I painted before, the constraint for me to paint more stuff for the goatee. I think, if I'm not mistaken, everything is gonna be open for painting from that point on. So select the top node of your goatee or your hair, and then you can just say preset and then export, right? So the scene was modified. You want to save it. Let me just save with another name first, because I don't want to override my scene the way I had, because I never know what XGen is doing, if it's going to corrupt something. So I'm going to save as a different one. And when I do this, it's probably going to try to save it again, but let's do that. Let's just do whatever Maya asks, because we don't want to get Maya upset. Maya's getting upset. Okay, saving 97, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now select the top node. Descriptions, you might have to save again. Let's see. And then preset, export. No, it didn't save. Okay, so I'm gonna just browse to the folder where I wanna save all this stuff. So I'm under scenes. I'm gonna save right here in scenes. And I'm just gonna do a name, create a name here, goatee 1, save, right? And then viewport snapshot, I can do that. Just like do a snapshot like that. So basically like you can create a little square just to show what it is, right? So that's the little thing. And then you can just say, okay, export. It's gonna take a little bit. Not too bad. So now, let's say like, okay, this goatee, I'm trying to, every time I open my Maya file is completely broken or something, or I wanna expand that area, right? So if I try to do anything here, let's try, just for the sake of it. So if I click edit and I try to add anything here. See, I can add in this area here, it's adding more hair, right? It's totally fine. But then when I click here, nothing happens because everything is constrained to that area that I selected originally, right? So let's delete this whole thing altogether. So goatee is gonna go away, right? So now it doesn't exist in my scene anymore. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna just click the model itself, the base mesh, and make sure that we don't have any areas, right? We don't need any areas, so like anything deselected. And now we can just click the model and say, okay, descriptions, preset, import. You're gonna navigate to it, and then there's the goatee in there. I'm gonna open. And now there's a bunch of things here. It can be based on the position or the UVs. UVs, I think, is gonna give you like a better precision, right? So I'm gonna switch to UVs, which is, for example, like if you change the topology of your mesh and you're trying to transfer, like to do a hair transplant, the first thing I would do is actually transfer the UVs based on the space, right? Like using the transfer attribute thing. Probably going to create a gigantic mess in certain areas, but you're going to have a lot of stuff like really, really close to what you had before. Like the UV space should be pretty close. So instead of like position base, I'm going to switch to UV base, and instead of like rotate to align with the new surface, I'm going to just use the original orientations. So I just basically like the default, I switched to the known default, and I'm just going to click import. So this is going to try to recreate the goatee, and it should be fairly precise. Oh, funny thing is that it's coming with the same problem. Look at that. Which should be solved again with the freaking rebuild, but it shouldn't be there in the first place, right? Which makes me very upset. I'm angry. But that's the way I normally clean things up. So let's do a test now. So if I have to add more hair, right? Remember what happened before? That I was constrained to this area, right? So the hair is working fine here. and then it wasn't working here. But now look at that. Now it's actually working everywhere. You can actually click here. The only thing that's doing is actually interpolating. So when it interpolates, it's going to try to add like very, very small stuff, right? So if I go to tool settings here, let's click off the interpolation so we can see what happens. And now you have, ta-da, hair everywhere. You can add hair even here, right? So that's how I normally expand those areas. If I make a mistake, right? Like I said before, if I paint an area that's too small and I need to expand it, that's the way I kind of like transfer stuff around. And then it just opens up for painting everywhere without having to tweak any masks or anything like that, right? And you saw like the process is fairly straightforward. It's just export, delete, and then import again, and then you're ready to go. So yeah, so I'm gonna keep that one the way it is, and I'm gonna try to do that whole thing again, the whole area. So you guys can unmute yourselves, right? I don't need to unmute you guys. Can you try, Camilo? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. I always thought like that I had to do manually. See, like it only took me like 3 weeks to realize that you guys have the freedom to actually open them. But yeah, feel free to ask any questions about it. It's kind of straightforward so far, I guess. But it's just like you see, like my struggle here, like how painful it is when XGen decides to bug, you know. And the thing is, like I think it's a combination of like I said, a scene that's accumulating all those ghost nodes and shit like that. And then XGen getting a little heavy when you get like multiple definitions like that. It gets a little confused sometimes. So just paint that one. I'm gonna try to get something done during the class because it's being a little hard. Yeah, the way that the class kind of evolved, you know, it's like my intention was to actually, okay, they're gonna watch me working and I'm gonna keep doing my work. But the thing is, like, I feel bad not explaining how things work. So that's why it kind of evolved from a kind of like a voyeur kind of, you know, experience that you guys would just watch me to something that's much more of a mentorship, right? That I actually do all those mini tutorials during the class because I really want you guys to get help, you know, with the stuff, kind of like get a little bit into my mind, the way I approach those things. So with that, I mean, what happens is that instead of like doing actual work, I'm actually spending a good chunk of time just like explaining things, and then the work is not going as fast as I wanted to, but at the same time, it's not slow, right? Like, I mean, like 3 weeks in and I got the model it's pretty. So it needs stuff, but at least like it's fairly complete for what it is. But I wish I could have like a complete model at the end, but no problem at all. Oh, by the way, I have a couple of picks for the next week. I'm going to start another class, right? And then I have a few candidates. Maybe you guys can vote. I don't know. The thing is, all those models I mentioned a couple of times, you know, it's like I tried to model someone who had some kind of influence in my life. All those artists who were actually, you know, did something that actually really impacted me somehow. And the next ones I think that would be very nice to sculpt would be Ray Harryhausen, which is the creator of Adventure of Simba and all the cool stuff, like the stop motion stuff, right? That I grew up with that stuff watching in the afternoons in Brazil. And then the other one is Frank Frazetta. Frank Frazetta to me was very special because I remember like being a little kid, not a little, but I would say like maybe like 12 years old or something like that. And I would collect those magazines that in Brazil they used to call Crypta, but in the United States it was called Creepy. If you search on Google for Creepy, you can do it right now actually. Look at that. Creepy magazine. Oops, magazine. Oh, there's covers in there. So look at that stuff, man. A lot of those covers were done by Frank Frazetta. So the cool thing about that, this is a Frazetta cover right there. He did some heavy metal stuff as well, I think. But the cool thing about those covers that it was all oil paintings, you know. He did all those things in oil. So sometimes I would look at those. I had like a collection of creepy. I still have my cryptas here in United States. Actually, I brought what I had, and those magazines are from 1970. I don't know, 78, something like that, 77. And I still have my collection here. I have to dig. Is in the garage somewhere. But the cool thing is that like some of those magazines, I remember like just looking at the covers, and I could see the marks of the brushes, and you know, it's like the relief of the screen behind it, behind the paint. And I was so fascinated with that, because to me at that point it was just about like illustrations, right? Like, and this guy was kind of like creating kind of like a fine art illustration kind of thing. And I remember like being this kid, and I would reproduce those covers, you know. There is one that I did as a kid. I was like, let's see, Frank Frazetta. So there's this one here that I remember doing this drawing as a kid. I didn't do the woman, but I was definitely trying to nail this guy here, making this little creature, right? So Frazetta, like, I really love this entire phase of myself, like discovering those artists and being completely absorbed with those horror magazines. You know, it was like Creepy. It was a very horror and science fiction magazine. And I was super scared after reading the stories. You know, it was like I would be like freaking out. But that little thrill, you know, it's like adrenaline, would really be super nice to me. But you see, like, he has a statue of him in here, a Frank Frazetta statue, right, as someone already did. But I would like to do like a very realistic version of him. So it can be between him and Ray Harryhausen, right? So Frank Frazetta, if I do like a photo here, the thing that happened with Frank Frazetta is that he was a very good-looking guy as a young guy. Apparently, like, played baseball, and he actually worked out. So like a lot of those models, he actually used himself as a model, right? Like there's a couple of pictures of him like showing his guns and things like that. He was a good-looking dude, right? But then when he got older, his eyes start getting a little fucked. You know, it's like, look at this one here. So this eye kind of bulged out. You know, it's like he looked very weird as an old man. So even this one here, this portrait even exaggerates even more the problem in there. But I don't want to do this to the guy, you know. I don't want to do this. I want to be nicer to him, because normally I go for the older version of the guys, like the whole thing about the wrinkles and all that stuff. But with him, I think I'm going to try to find a spot where he looks more like this, you know. He has an interesting face. But at the same time, his face is not as iconic as the face of Ray Harryhausen, you know. So he can be kind of like a generic kind of guy, right? Like, it's not like I'm going to model him and somebody's going to say like, oh man, this is Frank Frazetta. It's going to be hard to recognize who it is, you know, I think. Unless you really nail it really, really well. But in the case of Ray, I mean, that face I recognize, you know. And if you don't recognize, you should watch some movies, man. This guy was freaking awesome. Look at that, King Kong. Yeah, remember the original King Kong? And remember like all the little skeletons? Yeah, this guy was awesome, man. He passed away not long ago, like years ago. Every time he came to ILM, he would sign a poster in there. There's a poster with his, with, I think it was a Simba stuff. And then he would sign that poster. So we have like maybe like 5 or 6 signatures of him in there. And then all of a sudden, like, they stopped, right? Because he died. And so sad to watch, to see that poster and see the progression of him visiting ILM and then signing, and then all of a sudden not being around anymore, right? But yeah, he's a very interesting guy, and I would love to model him. So yeah, between the two of them, you guys would would help me to pick, I guess. But one of them is gonna happen next week. Let's do some hair again, and I hope it's not crashing, man. Freaking. Let's do this. 200. Here. Let's do 1.2 for the length. So we're gonna go already a little bigger. And 195. Okay. Let's do that. And let's try like straight away, just like to create the guides. Let's see if we can do it like pray that works actually. Let's see, guide, and then instead of like just create it here, let's just try to flush this with let's try to flood it and see if it works with the flood. So click that one.
Kris.
And, hey.
Hey, it's me, Camille. I have a tip for you. I don't know if it will works, but Maya has a command you can type and update the viewport, you know, and I think that fixes that problem with guides.
Oh, do you think it does?
Yeah, sometimes I use a lot because the viewport of Maya is very buggy. You know?
Very buggy, right? One thing that I tried is this. Look at this. So I was using like OpenGL, right? So I tried to switch between OpenGL. I switched to DirectX 11, and it's exactly the same shit. Yeah, it didn't solve. Nice. But yeah, if you know the command, you can tell me. I can just make a little script and put it in there and just click it all times or something. Or put
it's called OGS.
OGS.
Space, OGS space dash R.
R, like that?
Sorry. Reset dash reset.
Reset, like OGS reset. Okay. Yeah, let's save that one. Let's see if I get this guy here. OGS reset. Okay, let's create one little tab here. So I have my tab that's called custom. Just click this guy here and you can do shelf editor, right? Shelf editor. And then under custom, I can just put a new one here. Let's see. That's new shelf. I think I can just drag. Let's see if it works.
Actually, I use this a lot because I work as local development.
Oh, I see. So now it's saved in there.
Yeah, and shaders and that kind of stuff is really bugging the viewport, you know. And
yeah,
it helps me a lot.
That's really cool, man. I'm gonna put this one right here at the very beginning. And just to check if it's there, if you go to your shelf editor. And so I have that one at the very top. Let's see, where is it? My custom. And then we have this OGS reset, right? Right there. So that's the first one I have right here. Yeah, so I'm gonna try that. Awesome, man, thank you. And then this one, let me just try to flood it all together and see if it works with the flooding or not. So let's go to XGen and then click this guy here, density, and flood. Let's see, pray that so decrease value, blah, blah, blah. Let's put 100 or less than 100. Let's try that. Yeah, it didn't work. Let's try it. Let's see if that.
Oh, sorry, Kris. Another way you can do that is instead put decrease, you can put set and zero.
To set to 0, right?
Yeah, and flood.
Yeah, I see. Like it might be related to the.
Yeah, that's right.
To the. Let's try that one. That little command didn't work either. Let's try with. Let's try with the guide rebuild and see if something changes. You see, now it works. Yeah, it's crazy to me, you know. It's like, ugh, it drives me insane. But anyway, so that's one way. It's like I keep clicking rebuild every time, you know. It's like for all kinds of shit like that. But yeah, it drives me insane. So let's try with this one. Let's see if it's gonna work now. I kind of doubt it's gonna work because everything is so buggy. See, like it's crashing straight away, dude. Yeah, not liking it. Not liking it. Let's wait. Let's see if it saves that file. Let's if I can recover it, at least it might be more stable after. I doubt it, but let's see. I'm gonna go to my folder here. So I already have my Maya crash here. Let's see if it's gonna save there for me. Yeah, that's my least favorite part, is like when things just don't work, you know, and they are supposed to work. And I'm sending all those, you know, it's like those reports to Autodesk, but I don't know if they ever do anything about it. You know, like I keep sending them. You know, like my 2018 was the same deal, like send it and then. So
yeah, maybe you can change the phrase. You spend 90% of the time resolving problems. You know,
resolving problems. Yeah, yeah. But you know, like this machine here is actually very stable. But the stuff when it crashes is just some bullshit like that. That's something that's a bug in the program that there's no way out. You know, ZBrush has some of those as well. It's much better nowadays. But I remember like there were certain things you had to avoid doing because you knew you would crash. You know, so you see, like I don't even want to send anything, but I mean like XGen crashed again during let's see manual guides placement. XGen is really buggy. Send report, done. Come on, man, fix it. Please fix it, man. Come on, Autodesk. Something about it. So let's see if at least I'm going to be able to open that file. So I have it in there. Another thing that happens sometimes is that the file kind of goes away all of a sudden when you try to open it. So I normally do this. I just create a copy of it. And then I open the copy. So if Maya decides for any reason to just remove it altogether and to screw me up, because it does that, so I can actually do that. Yeah, it's like you said, I mean, like it's all this problem solving stuff. It's a matter of like years of suffering, right? Like I use Maya since Maya 1. Like we are talking about like 20 years, you know? And I mean, like you learn all those things that they never fix, and you keep like expecting the next version thing's going to be fixed, and you get like a software that's 20 something years old, and then all of a sudden things are still pretty buggy, you know? But XGen is kind of like they didn't have all those little features that we have nowadays until not long ago. Let's try your script. Let's see if it works here. I hope it's saved. But it's bullshit that it's coming back. The problem in the goatee is coming back. That's, you know, I don't like that at all. So let's try that script. Yeah, it didn't solve. The rebuild actually solves it, but that script didn't solve. So let's go to goatee.
That's bad.
Yeah, let's go like this, and then it resolves with that. But impressive that I can actually not do the freaking guide stuff, man. I cannot place a guide, a simple guide. Sculpt, edit, let's try again. I bet it's gonna crash again. Let's try to place one, just one. Give me one. Oh, what? Did it work? Holy shit. But it partially worked, right? Because I'm not seeing anything. Probably because of the interpolation. So let's try without interpolation. Let's try that again. Oh, it's actually not working. It's just full of bullshit. Well, I'm gonna have to troubleshoot.
Sorry, me again. Try to put interpolation with source instead current description.
Source. No. Nope. Same deal. Holy macaroni, man. So I'm gonna
turn off the main hair just to see the guides.
Oh, I mean, they're not even showing up.
Oh, that's really strange.
Yeah, I mean, it's buggy, man. Let's try to delete the guides and delete this one. And I tell you, I mean, like it's the kind of scene that's a good candidate to just like do like a major cleanup, you know? We can try to do this now just to see what happens, because I don't know if it's gonna completely clean up, but it can really help. Let's see if we can take advantage of that. Let's see, display, let's show everything and just hide whatever we don't need. Oh, it's gonna show up like a bunch of different HDRIs in there. Oh, look at that. Man, that's awesome. That's cool. So let's see, there's one eyebrow here that was just a temporary, I think I did, right? No, it's actually, it's the main eyebrows. Why do I have more stuff in there? It's weird. Anyway, so now we're gonna select everything and you're gonna try to export the scene and see what happens. Because I have the impression that some stuff might actually fix. There's even leftover stuff like from the glasses, from the other sunglasses. Like some bullshit here from my old model. I don't need that anymore. So let's try that. Let's select everything with this, and then all my HDRIs, which is a bunch. Let's check here what I have. Actually, I can just select from here. It's fine. Let's select all those objects until here. Let's export it. Export selection, and then Maya, binary, blah, 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 yada, yada. Good. And then let's do like a stand clean scene. So I'm probably going to be losing the render preferences, but I don't care about that. We can recreate it very fast as long as I have the rest of the stuff. Oh, actually, there is one thing here. Let's just copy this one. I forgot to copy my freaking camera. I would have to redo everything. Let's copy the camera as well. Export it. Or even better, let's duplicate it. So edit, duplicate with duplicate special, and then world, and with input connection. So let's do that. So that's my perspective copy now. So starting here, stand, all the way down to the perspective, right? When I copy with the copy special with input connections, I get all the little keyframes in there. So that's what I want. So export my binary, and then scene one clean. So let's see what this BS does now. Yeah, the XGen is an interesting thing because he adds a lot of time, not render time, but like saving time, right? When you try to save stuff, although the scene is not very big, it's only like 200 megabytes or something. He adds a ton of time to save just because I don't know what it does with XGen, you know, if he has to save each of those definitions in a virtual space or something. But let's see what happens if, man, I have like little hopes, but I have some hopes that's going to clean up some stuff. Let's see what happens. So file, import, and then Maya, binary. And then here, use namespace, only the clashing nodes, the string 0, right? So I want to make sure that I'm importing with no like prefixes or anything. And then I'm going to import that guy. See, like my clean scene is actually bigger than the original scene. So funny. Nice clean up, Kris. Got bigger. Let's see what happens. I mean, like, oh, same bullshit. So that didn't help. But let's hope that the bugs actually, in terms of like the creation of guides and stuff, let's hope that one solved something. So let's hide some of the stuff here that we don't need. So I start with all those lights, which by the way, those lights I like to organize. Here is a mess right now, but I like to organize, for example, into a single group like that, which I can call lights. You can just hide the entire thing. Drop this one in there too. And the hair, I can do the same. I can do like hair definitions. Same deal, let's see. Group. Hair. It's a little bit more well-organized. Lenses inside of glasses. So it's a little better now. And then let's go back here. And then let's do some rebuild. Not this one, but the goatee. It's bullshit because I'm gonna have to redo this every time, I guess. I'm hoping the scene seems like the stuff is returning, which is crazy to me. Let's get back here to, where is it? The base right here. And interpolate current, rebuild, okay. And peach fuzz. Yeah, man, it's such a waste of time, you know. I should be done with the hair by now. But then we have to be bug tracking. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Let's see, which one is that? Yeah, we can get rid of this entire thing. Control H. Actually, let's delete it. This one, I have the other lenses in here. Cool. Those guys as well, the old model. This all came from Dick Smith model. Okay, and then the eyebrows, we can just rebuild it. Yeah, I wish I was spending time with like doing something useful instead of like just rebuilding shit, man. It drives me crazy. Oh, and the thing, like, you see like how noisy it looks here in the viewport? Normally I use this render viewport 2.0, and I set it up the anti-alias here, both of them, and I set to, in this case here it goes to 8 because DirectX. If it was OpenGL, it goes to 16. So that way it looks much smoother now, right? So let's try that once again to add some guides to the main hair and hope for the best. Guide. Before I do anything else, let's save this as a scene 2. I'm gonna be poking around after the class, and I'm gonna see if I can find what's causing the problem, because I need to get this hair eventually done, right? So I need to do something about it. If everything goes wrong, then I can simply like style it without using any guides, just like I did with the beard and with the mustache. Because at the end of the day, you see, like, it's not like a super complex hair. I can totally style without any guides, but I just wanted to do it right, you know, and show you guys. But unfortunately, I'm having trouble with that. So let's try that again. Input guide, create. Good Lord. So I know that if I do the styling using those guys now, they're gonna work. But the thing is, like, I want to customize. I don't want to have all of those guides in there, right? So I don't even know if I change something here. I'm so afraid to change anything because it's so buggy. But the definition of the guide, like I said, it's kind of like a hair within the hair, right? So this is kind of like its own group, has its own base here. Let's try to change that base, like the density, and hope for a crash. Let's see if it crashes. Let's put the density of 0.2 here. It kind of worked. That's about, what about 0.1 then? It kind of worked too. Okay, that way, let's see if it's still working though, if I style it. Oh, sorry, that one, edit. Oh, it's working. So it's like a little bit easier to control, I guess, like that. So I'm gonna do a little bit of the grooming using that first. Okay, since this is saved not long ago, let's try to just add one of them. Let's see if it's gonna crash again. Bastard is gonna crash. Ah, it's gonna crash. Anyway. No, it worked. Yay! Dude, you see like how random this shit is. It drives me insane. All right. So yeah, this one is working. So we added one that I wanted to add, finally. And you can tell that I didn't do a lot different from what I was doing before. It's just like completely random BS. So let's do symmetry and then object and X. Well, we are in the business of grooming now. Shit's going down. Right. Holy smokes. What a trip. So I'm gonna bring those guys back. Back. So right now you can tell I'm just like, if you want to really go super fast with that, you can just turn off the main hair. So turn off that one. And you can just style those little guys. Right. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go a little crazy here, guys. I'm going to save it again. And I'm going to try to eliminate some of them. Because I like living dangerously. Let's try to crash this shit again. Okay, so let's save it the way it is because we know it's actually working now. Let's just double check. Let's see. Boop, right? Let's save it. Saving is your friend. And then let's try to eliminate some of those with the density mask. If I can't do that, then we are in business. I think what I did that was differently here, obviously, was to actually re-importing everything into this new scene, right? At least that major crash that we are having with XGen kind of went away. Apparently the display crash, the display shit is still there. So we still have that artifact with you know, stuff getting all like weird. But at least like the crash we are having by placing those things didn't happen again. It might be a coincidence, it might happen again now because I just said it. But so far, it didn't. So let's try this. So decrease. So eliminate that. It's working. It's actually working, guys. Fuck. I'm cursing a lot today. I'm just like so frustrated with this entire thing. So, okay, so let's eliminate all of those guys. And keep one in there just to make sure that I don't remove all of them because I'm trying to work around bugs, as you can tell. So let's get one here. Nice, check this out, it's working. Not quite, oh, okay, it's working. It's just that they're pointing in different directions. So let's pull it out like that. That one is there too, okay, cool. So I have a few in there. Let's see if I have anything hidden. No, that's about it. So let's try that. So just eliminate some more because I'm pushing here. I'm playing with fire right now. Let's eliminate those. See, that one didn't eliminate. Oh man, I hope that one is, oh yeah, it's okay because they're symmetrical, I don't care. So I have just those ones that I want to be able to control now and eliminate that one. And now we're in the game, man. Now I can actually do something. Okay, cool. So let's do, let's create one here. One down here to here. Around there. And those ones that are not like showing up, they're probably there. They're just like, you have to pull them out of this sculpt. Same with those guys. And then some more right here. And right there. See, like just with a few ones like that, you should be able to control a lot of stuff. And then of course, for the more custom stuff, I'm gonna be dealing with this a little later. Why this one got so short in there? It's like a tiny little guy. Interesting. Okay. So now let's see if this is affecting the hair. I hope it is. I hope it's affecting the hair. Yes. Ah, man, I'm so happy right now. All this time that we wasted, this should be, you know, done by now. All this stuff I'm doing right now. So you see, like with those little guides, you're able to actually style like the majority of the hair straight away. So let's give some direction to those guys. This one's back in a way. Oh, and another thing, the symmetry, right? Like I'm painting the top and it's moving the side of the hair right there. The side of the head is being moved as well. Oh man, it's like so many bugs. It is frustrating, but it is what it is. Yes.
I have a question. About the displacement.
Yeah.
One time ago, I had problems with displacement and XGen because like pitch fuzz disappears, you know, because displacement is more higher than
oh yeah
my pitch fuzz.
Yeah.
You know? How can you resolve that?
You know, it's like I never had the problem that I can notice because like I try to have the model that's fairly higher res. That's the main reason I, instead of like using the lowest resolution, I bring one subdivision level more. If you're having still that problem, maybe like 2 subdivisions level more, you know, but they might have a setting in there. I just wonder how much time it adds because you would have to kind of like displace at real time, right? Not real time, but at render time, you would have to try to recognize the height of the displacement and then bring them up. I don't know if they have the feature in there, but I would guess that it would add some time, you know? So instead of like going through that process, I just rather use like a mid-resolution mesh. So for example, like my pitch fuzz in here is pretty set on top, you know? And if you have enough length, you're not gonna have it disappearing, you know? So yeah, that's basically the main reason I bring the medium resolution stuff.
Right, thanks.
Yeah, but I mean, like you, for example, if you work in production with XGen, which is not my case, everything is like for my personal stuff, then I would guess they would have to find ways to correct that because it's a very important question. What you ask is very important. It's just like, in our case here, just for portraits, it's not gonna affect us that much. We can always like cheat stuff, you know, it's like, and you can use the displacement node to just pump stuff out. But I understand what you're saying. You want like an automatic way to actually just recognize the heights and then just pop it out. Just yeah, it's definitely. So let's go back here. So now I have the hair. You see like just a few hair splines. I can actually just style like large areas like that. And then obviously you can add more of them. You can add more interpolation, right? You can make it a little bit longer. Just like with everything else, with the regular hair, with the guides is the same deal. So if you want to add like a general length to them, you can actually grow them using the length brush. So in this case here, it's going higher. So let's go with the control here. So I can actually grow. So everything is going to grow according to the length of those guides, right? So you can actually, you know, manipulate that way. So I'm going to grow those ones in the back a little bit more, maybe this one. And let's try to add some more guides, perhaps here. Did it do anything? I'm not even sure if it created it. Did Maya just went into bullshit mode again? Yeah, it didn't create anything. Let's try again. Let's try that. Now it did, because it's random. It makes no sense. So let's go to off here, and just gonna add some here in the middle, like one, and then one right there, and one right here. Very simple, you know, it's like start very, very low. And then once you have like most of this stuff in place, and if the hair is actually at least going to the right direction, then you can just add like more and more stuff. So at this point here, just want to make sure that those guys follow the right direction. So I'm going to go towards the back like that. And those ones down. This one's got so tiny here. I don't know why it got so tiny. Let's grow it a little bit without the symmetry. Off. Oops, the opposite. Yeah, recover a little bit of the length. Okay, and then go back there. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, so now he has this fancy hair, right? Which is not exactly what we want, but at least is a base for what we want to start. And then you remember, like, you know, it's like the first thing I normally like to do is just add the noise thing, just get more natural, right? Like the noise modifier. So I'm gonna just add one here, noise. So it starts to look a little bit more natural. And then I'm gonna go to attributes. And the frequency here gets very scraggly if you go too high, right? It's gonna get like, whoop, like that, like super curly, right? But then if you go lower, a little less curly, right? So let's get that, something like that. And then I'm gonna play with the length, of course. We can add some nodes to see, like this area here. Probably needs another guy just to, that guy got a little lost in there. We have to do that. So now let's do, let's see, correlation, blah, blah, blah. So let's keep it the way it is. And then start playing with, we're gonna shave some of that stuff and hope it's not gonna crash straight away. So let's go to my hypershade. And I guess we lost what we had before, which was the, see, the main hair. I don't think it has anything assigned. Yeah, it has only the physical hair. So if I go all the way down here, like I said before, first thing I'm gonna select this physical hair, select and then delete. So that's gone. I'm gonna add another node here. So I'm gonna go to Arnold shader. Actually, let's do what we did before. Let's just copy the eyebrows. So that one. Click that one, graph material, selected object. Bloop. Control D. Then main hair. And then, oops, did I duplicate it? I did not. Control D. Okay, now it's duplicated. Oops. And main hair. And then let's just plug this alpha into, oops, the melanin. No, not this one, guys. This guy, melanin. So now it's plugged to both, right? So it's gonna affect both. So let's select that one, the hair, main hair, and then click main hair, right click, assign material to viewport. Did it work? Didn't seem like it worked now. Interesting. I wonder if it's because, let's try to assign like the regular Maya shader. Let's try the hair, physical hair shader. Let's try that one, see if it works. If it works now, then we know Maya's full of shit. So it definitely worked, right? So if I try to assign this one here, the main hair, now it worked. So you never know what's gonna happen. It's always like a box full of surprises with Maya. So, okay, so I got the hair in there. Now the thickness, it doesn't look like something I'm liking it right now. So we're gonna play a little bit with those settings. So Maya, and then blah, 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 blah. Let's see the properties here. So we're gonna start with bringing the roots, making a little bit smaller, right? You see, like if I bring this area here down, this curve, it starts eating a little bit of the roots. And although it's not like physically accurate, I like that little blend that he gives me, you know? So I'm gonna keep it small like that, a little bit. So it's spline, and then I'm gonna grow starting here, maybe a little bit here, and then a little thicker. And then at the very tip, I'm gonna bring it down again. So I'm gonna go like that, some curvature like that. So it starts a little small, maybe too small now. So let's try that. Gets a little thicker. Oops, not that one. What? Oh, there you go. Man, I swear, like everything's, it's not like it as it should. You know, it's like, it seems like every new version gets a little bit more buggy. You click something, it doesn't work. Click something, doesn't work. Then you click a third time, it works. Holy smokes, Maya. I hope some Autodesk person is watching this video later. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, the funny thing is that I'm neighbors with Autodesk. It's literally like 4 minutes from my house. I can walk out of the door right now and knock at their door. I'm neighbors with Autodesk. So yeah, so looking at my references now, let's see how his hair looks like. So now that I have the noise assigned, oh, let's just cover that guy. And this is gonna be the one that's gonna crash the entire thing. See? And just one guide right there. It's gonna crash the entire freaking thing. I'm being so pessimistic now. Let's see. Let's hope for the best. Yes! Dude, that scene cleanup really fixed it, huh? Dude, see? You learned something. Now the hair density looks very, very, very dense in relation to the beard, right? Like it looks pretty dense. So we can do like a general adjustment here. That can actually cause Maya to crash. As you can see, everything related to XGen and Maya, it's better if we save before trying anything too crazy, right? Like simply changing the density, it's too crazy. But I swear when I start those models, like if I have just one definition in the scene, like just the mustache and the beard, everything is so flawless, you know, it's like it doesn't have any bugs or anything like that. As soon as I start like poking around, adding definitions for the eyelashes and then the eyebrows, it already start getting a little buggy. And now with the hair there, it's definitely like in that state, you know, but at least like seems like this scene cleanup really fixed it. I really hope it did. So let's go to the main hair and then the in-guide, not the in-guide base, but the main hair base. Which is, why is it not selecting? Okay, main hair base, like here. Let's try the multiplier, like half of that number. Yeah, seems like something more like that would be more interesting. I don't know if this is like 50,000 hairs, but it doesn't look like too little. It looks like it's a good amount of hair actually. Let's get the scale as well pumped up. 1.4. I don't know if I should do this with scale though. Maybe I should just like grow those guides a little bit. I think it's more guaranteed that I'm gonna have more control, right? So let's try this guy here. Let's add some length to it. And like I said before, the noise adds a lot of lag. So I'm gonna turn it off before I do anything else. I'm just gonna grow this. And then I can add all the in-betweens. Once you're happy with the guide, sometimes you can just like, you can eliminate the guides if you want to. And just like start clean with just the hair. But I like keeping the guides at all times so I can actually go and do like the major tweaks. Something like that. Actually, I have to look at the reference to see what's the direction of everything. But I don't know if like this one here is part of my system. No, this is part of the beard. Let's just hide that stuff. I don't want to get confused by it. So this is the main beard, and I have, oh, that's not part of the beard. There's one in there. It's part of that, of what? Oh, I guess it's part of the dark hair one. Is it? Yeah, seems like guide. What? This one. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so let's go back to this guy here. Let's add some more on the sides. right here, because I want to be able to control this area. So let's add one here and another one there. Oh, I guess I don't need. Okay, so let's do this again. See, I hate this stuff. I'm brushing here and it's brushing that one. It might be related to the space. Let's see. I just erased it. It might be related to the space I'm using to brush those things. So for example, if I'm moving stuff around, let's check what I have in tool settings and what I have here for the fall off. I have screen. So if I have volume, let's see if it does the same. Oh, it does the same. So it makes no sense. See, it's moving the back of the hair right there for no apparent reason. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to use non-symmetry. And then get this stuff done like that. And also switch to screen again because the volume really sucks. So from here, I can actually start brushing maybe up towards this area and then just removing a lot of that stuff later on. It's back, and then this one goes down. Change direction a little bit. And I'm really gonna start like trimming all this stuff later on. Oh, I found that guy that was hidden in there. More towards the side here. See, like if XGen was just this, you know, it's like it was just like doing what it's supposed to do, because in terms of features, it's very rich. It has a ton, but it's just the bugs, man. The bugs really kill the experience, you know. But for what it is, I mean, like in terms of how interactive it is and how fast it is and all this stuff is so good. You can love it. It's like the love and hate relationship. That another one at the top. Around here. Yeah, see, like this one is here, for example, right in there. I'm gonna have to start like shaving them. So he looks like he looks so funny with this hair right now. So slowly gonna have to add the rest of the stuff here. Let me see how it's blending with the beard. It's like he just came out of the shower or something. Looks like he just went to Cuba, and then just you know, took a shower in there. Good. So you see like this hairline in there, all that stuff, I can actually fix it by actually tweaking the intensity, right? Like the density. So instead of like using the guides in here now that you're inside of that little subsystem, I'm gonna go back to this sculpting here. Or even better, I can actually use a sculpt node right under it. So let's do like a sculpt node right here. And then switch to this edit. And hope that's gonna be actually doing what we expect it to do in real time. Otherwise, you're gonna be clicking that, that rebuild button nonstop. So I have decrease here, and I can just use a small intensity because I don't want to decrease everything at the same time. So I'm gonna do this. Let's see if it's removing. Apparently it is, but it's very slow. Let's click it a little bit more here. Yeah, so it's eliminating them. Yeah, it's not as fast as I would hope. So let's crank this value here. Again, like I can do what Camilo was saying to set up to 0 as well. But if I want to do this with a little bit more control like that, I like doing just using the intensity, you know, because sometimes what I do, I go to an area that's completely populated like that, that's super heavy, and I want just slowly just remove the amount of hair in there. I can use like a small amount here for the value, and then I can really like with a large brush just eliminate like in general, you know, it's like the amount of hair. But the hairline here, you're gonna start seeing some improvements. I'm gonna remove some of that. So it's like the line is gonna look a little bit better. And then of course we're gonna be blending other ones. So let's see, let me pull the picture here, not this one, but the one I have from the profile. It's not there. Let's get that from here. Let's get the profile. So that's a good profile too. But I like that one, the small resolution one, this one. Let's see what's going on with his hair, the back. It's actually, yeah, it's everything, right? Like it's all about relationships. So in this case here, you see like the height of the hair here in relation to the earlobe. It's right there, right? His hair is head's a little tilted. So if I draw a line from the bottom of the nose in here, which should be go up slightly because of the smile, but not by much. So you have a line that goes like that. So it's almost like lined with his upper lip, right? So that's kind of like the reference I would have. So if I get the upper lip here, his face is also diagonal here. I would have the hair kind of ending right there. And then everything else here would be just those little ones, you know, it's like just a little blending ones. So I can use that as a reference. But then for the profile, see what I have here. So those guys, I have enough, and they're probably gonna go down instead of going to the side like that. They're gonna go down first. But in terms of like seeing what I see when it comes to the roots, I'm gonna get a little bit deeper in here. Maybe remove some from this area here. And I have a little buffer so I can add again if I need to, but I think I just have to remove some of that. And the direction, apparently those ones I have to come down here. So let's switch back to my guide and then get this guy to go down. The direction is going to change like that, probably a little curvature like that. And then I'm going to have to trim those ones around the ear. So same with this guy here. Let's go down and away from the scalp. And then from this point on, then they start kind of going back. And towards the back here too. So at this point here, we need more height at the top, right? Like those guys here, the front ones, probably gonna start like, I don't have controls in the front, huh? I thought I had two in there, I don't. So let's add some here. So let's try that and that. So they're interpolating, so let's try to get them out of there. Oh, it didn't do anything. So it kind of did the fake thing that sometimes it does, right? So it didn't show it, it didn't create it, but it sure blinked. So let's do it again. Sometimes what you have to do, you have to actually re-click those icons. So if you click it again, this one here, then sometimes all of a sudden it works. So let's try that. Oh. Weird. It's actually adding hair, but it's not the guides. It's not adding guides. It's adding just the regular hair. Is that true? Because I have the guide selected in here. I swear, man, how many bugs you can get in one session? Holy smokes. It's not doing anything all of a sudden again. What's happening? You're not there at all. And undo is another thing that's a lottery. If you do undo, sometimes it gets like it loses the connections when you undo. And then all of a sudden, all the work you did is gone. Oh, man. When it works, it's amazing, though. You just have to have faith. Yeah, but definitely not letting me to add anything else here. So I have the main hair selected. I have my guide, sculpt, edit is in there. Let's switch edit here to this one, and then switch back to this one. And then I'm gonna just try again. Let's click that one. See if it works. Let's try without any interpolation. There you go. Okay. Maybe the interpolation is actually fucking up a lot of stuff. So good. Let's click it again, and then we can actually tweak it. Let's do this one, and then shrink it. I'm using like a very low intensity, so that's why it goes a little slower. So if I have something like that, now I can style it again. But I mean, if it wasn't for all the bugs we had today, this would be pretty much like a smooth sail, you know, to do all this stuff. But I have to figure out like how his hair is gonna go, if I'm gonna come to the side, something like that, you know. But I'm gonna be working on it for another probably like 2 hours, and hoping that's not gonna crash too much. Try to get some hair in there, and hopefully do some renders tomorrow with the hair. But yeah, silhouette. Let's go. I have to play with the length of it because it's not quite the same length in there. But obviously, with when you add the noise, things looks always better when you add noise, right? It looks more natural. But he looks like so young now, so full of dreams, just like you, all young and full of dreams. Get this guy here. Grow a little bit. All depends of like what picture you're getting of the guy, of course. Like I said before, a couple of other pictures, he has the hair very, very short. So it's not like we're gonna just match the one I'm seeing there. Definitely not going to stick with that one. Gonna have to find out which ones have a good length that I'm gonna go for. But yeah, guys, I wish I got more stuff done today. Wish I was not problem solving, but at least you guys are aware of what to expect with XGen. I mean, like, it can happen. I really hope it doesn't for you. A lot of softwares, of course, like, they're very dependent on the machines, right? Like, if you're running in a certain machine, it crashes all the time. If you are working with another machine at work, for example, it doesn't crash. In my case here, a lot of stuff I do at work that crashes in there doesn't crash in my machine, but obviously XGen is not that, right? Because it is indeed crashing. So like here now you allow me to add it, but no problem. I think that I tried just now, like a few minutes ago, it didn't work. So yeah, it's always exciting. That's all interpolated. Just finding those little gaps, the in-betweens. Let's get some of that. Good. Yeah, I have like enough controls in there that can do something now. Let's try add some in the middle. And then just here, and in between here. I think with that, I can do a lot tonight. If it doesn't crash on me, I can do a lot with those guys. That's one here too. Yeah, that should be enough. Oh, you can use one here or two. Right, very little. The least you use those guys, the better. You know, it's like just to get everything blocked into place first. And it seems like the number of hairs now, since it's much smaller, even with the noise, is actually pretty interactive. I'm able to actually sculpt in almost real time. There's a little lag, but it's not Not much, actually. I have to figure out what directions his hair is going. But that's going to be fun to do it tonight and discover it. You should see some renders coming up. Maybe not tomorrow, but like the day after tomorrow with the hair, I hope. All right, guys, it's 11:34. I'm gonna let you guys go, and sorry again, not my fault that my eye is buggy. I tried my best, but at least you are aware of certain things you can do, some measures like you know, it's like re-import the entire scene into a brand new scene, for example, can solve some problems. Those guides were being impossible to place before. Maya was crashing straight away twice. But then after I transfer everything to the scene here, now things are actually quite, you know, kind of working. So yeah, much better this way. Anyway, thanks guys. Sorry again, and we have another two of those meetings. So it's getting really, really close to an end. And I want to concentrate like those last 2 days. For example, tomorrow I want to explore the tier line. So we're going to be building the tier line in there. I'm going to be doing some more of the variations in the skin, like in the forehead. So you can actually see me doing that in real time, right? Like stuff I'm trying to explain how to add some variation. So I'm going to be demonstrating that. And then for the last day, we're going to be reserving to kind of like doing some renders and comping things and making things shine at the end. You know, it's like kind of like a presentation kind of thing, some color correction. I'm not great at color correction. You know, it's like I do my own thing, and I go by feeling. But I know people can do magic where like make things look super real by just like using color correction and some tricks. But that's not my case. My approach is always more artistic, and sometimes I take some liberties, you know, like I go more towards a stylized version just because I like the result better, you know, when it comes to skin too, something like that. But anyway, thanks guys. See you tomorrow, and keep rocking and posting some renders. Please post some renders so we can actually look at the stuff and analyze in the context of our real environment setting, right? That's my whole thing when I model those characters. I always want to see like straight away. Remember, like we did, I think like second session, we did the render already with HDRI because from the get-go, I want to analyze the forms and see what's missing, what I need to tweak. So by all means, just use some HDRIs in there and have fun. Thank you, guys.